Good afternoon and welcome to the House Appropriations Committee. I'm Delegate Maggie McIntosh, Chair. This afternoon, we have a number of bills that are being heard, all Senate bills, and we're going to begin today with Senate Bill 841, followed by Senate Bill 799, Senate Bill 803, Senate Bill 14, Senate Bill 540, Senate Bill 709, Senate Bill 169, Senate Bill 179, Senate Bill 189, Senate Bill 437, Senate Bill 560, Senate Bill 589, Senate Bill 874, Senate Bill 916, Senate Bill 828, and Senate Bill 838. With that, I'll start the day by welcoming President of the Senate, Bill Ferguson.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Appropriations Committee. Pleasure to be with you all. Senate Bill 841 is not a very complicated bill and came as a result or as a request from the President David Wilson of Morgan State University and a number of the members of the Morgan State community. Over the years, especially in these last 3 years, we have been able to do some pretty phenomenal things for our HBCUs here in the state of Maryland. And many may not know the full detailed history of Morgan, but back in 2006, Morgan State moved from or was incorporated as an R3 or moderate research activity institution. About 12 years later in 2018, moved from R3 to R2, which is high research activity. And so the bill that you have before you right now is enhancing Morgan's mission to help achieve that sort of coveted R1 status. As many folks may know, we have 3 of those R1 status universities here in the state of Maryland. University of Maryland College Park and Johns Hopkins have been the 2 that have been there for a while. And just this year, UMBC was ahead of schedule named as an R1 institution. And what this means, it's essentially the prestige within the university system, which helps to attract the best faculty, enhance research grant opportunities, and all of the progress that Morgan has seen in these last 5 years really sets it up well to become the only HBCU across the country that has the possibility of achieving that R1 status. And so this is an enhancement to the code that outlines the strategic function of Morgan and is a simple change that will hopefully help direct over these next 10 years the institution's ability to use these more disposable dollars, more flexible dollars to achieve that R1 status. With that, Madam Chair, appreciate the committee's consideration and look forward to any questions that folks may have.
Sure. Any questions of the sponsor? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day over in the Senate.
You too.
All right. We're now going to move to Senate Bill 799. Eric Benner is presenting. Is Eric here?
Hello, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Eric Benner on behalf of Senator Gazzoni to present Senate Bill 799, the Community College Tuition and Residency Waivers Funding Bill, which passed the Senate unanimously. The purpose of Senate Bill 799 is to create a sustainable public policy for all 16 of Maryland's community colleges by creating a $10 million appropriation to reimburse the colleges for state mandated tuition and residency waivers. Your committee has already heard the cross-file of this bill, House Bill 1102, and Senate Bill 799 was amended to add a bipartisan list of co-sponsors, changed the appropriation to run through 2026, and added a reporting requirement each year. We ask for a favorable report.
Okay, any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, you're also here for Senate Bill 803.
Yep, so Senate Bill 803, or the Community Correctional Services Drinking Driver Monitor Program Position Requirement, passed unanimously as well in the Senate. The purpose of Senate Bill 803 is to establish a new Monitor 3 employee position classification in the Drinking Driver Monitor Program in the Division of Parole and Probation in the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, And for further description and any questions, I will defer to Lance Kilpatrick from AFSCME Council 3, and we ask for a favorable report as well for Senate Bill 803.
Okay, all right, any question? Then let's move to AFSCME, to Lance. And I think Lance has a couple of people with him.
That's right. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, members of the Appropriations Committee. For the record, my name is Lance Kilpatrick, and I'm the Legislative and Political Director for AFSCME Council 3. Drinking driver monitors are the parole and probation agents for those convicted of DUI, yet they are not treated the same as their fellow colleagues. Drinking driver monitors are hired as a DDM-1, and after as few as 1 year of satisfactory performance, they are promoted through a non-competitive process to a DDM-2. But while parole and probation agents can graduate to a senior position, the DDMs do not have that career route. The General Assembly looked into this in 2019, asking DPSES if it was feasible to create a senior position and an enhanced career path. DPSES responded, and I quote, "This would effectively give the series an additional level of growth and would mirror the parole and probation agent series of Agent 1, Agent 2, Agent Senior, and Field Supervisor. In addition, the establishment of a DDMP senior monitor could assist in decreasing turnover. Anecdotally, DDM Monitor 2s routinely accept other positions as the result of the limited opportunity for career growth and upward mobility," unquote. And then they didn't pursue it. So last year, the General Assembly asked DPSES to make a plan to create a DDMP3 monitor position. DPSES declined, but noted, and again I quote, "A review of vacancies as of October 21st, 2021 indicated that 61% of separations were from employees who had been long-term employees, who had been in the position for 15 or more years," unquote. This clearly indicates that after so many years of service, there is a frustration with not being able to move along in their career, receiving acknowledgement of their experience and dedication. No wonder there's almost a 40% vacancy rate. They feel disenchantment, discouragement, and disrespect. AFSCME asks for a career path and opportunity for DDMs that mirrors parole and probation agents, the very people they work alongside with every day. We ask for a favorable report of Senate Bill 803, and I have two members with us today who will testify to their personal experiences. Thank you.
Okay, why don't we have Jana first?
Greetings. I'm Jana Smith. I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to take you on my personal journey. I started with the Division of Parole and Probation March 31st, 2004 as an Office Secretary 2. After 2 years, I advanced to the Department of the Public Defender's Office as an Office Secretary 3, Growth. After 4 years, I became a Monitor 1 at the Division of Parole and Probation, which was in 2010. In 2011, I was promoted to a Monitor 2, and I have been in that position since. That is 12 years later and 18 years of total service so far that I have made less than $50,000 annually for such a critical, important job. That is 11 years in one position with no room for advancement or growth unless you want to give up your caseload and become a supervisor, which a lot of us passionate, hands-on, interactive, inspiring, and influential monitors would not like to do. Most people are not aware of what a monitor is and don't even realize that we are a part of parole and probation until their life is affected by a driver under the influence. My job is critical to public safety, yet so undervalued, underpaid, understaffed, and overwhelmed. I am responsible for about 212 individuals. That's 212 people who have been caught driving under the influence of alcohol and or drugs. That's 212 people that's 212 humans that are closely supervised by one person, myself, to ensure that public safety is not compromised and to ensure that these 212 people are sober, productive citizens. The amount of work completed daily is daunting, the tasks are endless, and the numbers grow daily. However, I remain dedicated. Allowing for advancement to the DDMP3 position would give a lot of us veterans who are very much needed to teach the begin and monitor some hope and growth to what seems to be an underappreciated position. I thank you for taking this position into consideration, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara? Tierra?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the Appropriations Committee. For the record, my name is Tierra Day. I am a drink and driver monitor 2, working for the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. I am also the Executive Vice President of AFSCME Local 3661. I'm testifying before you today in support of Senate Bill 803, which would create a drink and driver monitor 3 position within the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. I've been a drink and driver monitor since February 14, 2018. But for almost 18 years, I've been a correctional officer in the Division of Parole and Probation. I'm sorry, for the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. This gives me a unique perspective on how different titles are treated and respected within DPSCS. I was first hired as a drink and driver monitor 1, but after showing I could do the job, I was promoted through a non-competitive process to be a drink and driver monitor 2. And that's where I've been ever since. I enjoy my job, even though I have roughly over 250 cases that I oversee and work every single day. Not only am I monitoring clients, I am engaging with the judicial system, and I am engaging with families and all types of people who work case management and the judicial process and compliance and enforcement. The frustrating part of working as a drink and driver monitor is not so much the work. While I like, even though I have too much of it, I like the work, though I have too much of it. But the fact that I have already tapped out in my job advancement is more so what is stressful. I like working with people, and I don't really want to become a supervisor. But that means my knowledge and experience gained over the many years of doing this job don't get recognized with any type of move up a career ladder. And that's not fair, because drink and driver monitors are the parole and probation agents for DUI offenders. And parole and probation agents actually have a level 3 position to advance to, but drink and driver monitors do not. This is simply a matter of being fair and equitable. It is also a matter of creating the best workforce possible to handle what can very delicate situations. There's almost a 40% vacancy rate for drink and driver monitors. We need to ensure that we are attracting and retaining the best Maryland has to offer to handle this delicate job. And without recognition that could be achieved for people who put in the time, we are going to have a very difficult time retaining people. The dedication myself and my colleagues have to the job is unmatched. But the level of acknowledgement and appreciation from the state for the job we do is lacking. Please pass Senate Bill 803. That will demonstrate that there's appreciation and respect for the job that we do. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the bill hearing.
Madam Chair, I do have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Delegate Christ.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So is this position necessary to, I guess, improve the efficiency, or is this position necessary to show respect for the 50 monitor 2 positions that we have now, that there's an opportunity for upward mobility? Because I think I heard the latter. I don't.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you very much. And Delegate Grice, good afternoon. Good to see you again. So I guess I would put it this way, right? When there is an almost 40% vacancy rate, when the people who are leaving are the ones with the most experience, it's clear that efficiencies within, that section, that division, are going to suffer, right? Because you're losing institutional knowledge, you're losing folks who know the job and do it well. This to me is a matter of, to us, I should say, is a matter of acknowledging the respect and experience that is gained through years of service, and therefore being able to continue to do the job in a way that is going to be effective going forward. I don't think anyone on the committee here would argue that bringing in somebody new who hasn't done the job previously is going to diminish the level of efficiency and expertise being applied to the job until they gain more experience, right? So to us, it's a logical situation in terms of getting a better outcome, as well as getting a better outcome for our members who have dedicated that amount of time.
I guess as a follow-up question,
Yes.
it looks like there are a total of 50. Are they 50 total positions? Or are there currently 50 employees? Because I know you had a lot of vacancies. You did mention that.
Yes. Unfortunately, Delegate, I don't have that exact number with me right now, but I'm happy to share with the committee later.
Okay, because it sounds like that's really the heart of the problem is we got to fill those empty pins is what it sounds like. Because I can understand why people would leave if they feel overwhelmed because there's not enough help. And that's been an issue in corrections for as long as any of us can remember. So, all right, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
That's true, Delegate. I would say it's an and situation, Delegate, right? Filling those vacant pins, but also creating retention opportunities for folks who will want to stay because of that advancement.
Okay. Thank you very much. That concludes the bill hearing.
Committee will now move on to Senate Bill 14, sponsored by Senator Alfred, Sustainable Maryland Program Fund Establishment. Senator Alfred.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, and thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm here to present Senate Bill 14, Sustainable Maryland Program Fund, the bill that this committee knows well. I want to thank my partner, Delegate Jared Solomon, for being such a persistent sponsor of this bill year after year. This bill passed in the Senate in 2020, and we just ran out of time, and we're bringing it back for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Sustainable Maryland Program, I know this committee knows, but just as a refresher, it's run out of the University of Maryland and provides critical technical assistance to municipalities across the state to meet their own sustainability goals. With the funding in the bill, it's in the Senate bill at $750,000. I appreciate that that's kind of a negotiable standpoint, and I'm looking forward to having that conversation. But providing greater funding to this program means they can provide greater resources to our municipalities and expand their work into HOAs, considering that so much of Maryland is not within a municipality, yet we have wonderful HOAs that could also use kind of sustainability, technical assistance and goals and support. So that's what the bill would provide. And again, Sustainable Maryland has trained 1,400 elected officials across our municipalities, certified 2,200 individual sustainability actions in our municipalities, assisted 19 communities in implementing their own watershed stewardship programs. It's a phenomenal program, could use a little bit of state help to better achieve their goals. And I know this committee knows as well that we're just not going to meet our Bay watershed goals, our WIPs, our watershed implementation plans that are due by 2025. We can't meet that without bringing our municipalities along with us and providing as much technical assistance and support as they need. So with that, Mr. Vice Chair, it's a wonderful bill, and I request a favorable committee report.
Thank you very much, Senator Alfred. Are there any questions from members of the Appropriations Committee for the bill sponsor on this bill? Seeing none, that concludes the bill hearing for Senate Bill 14. We'll next move on to Senate Bill 540, also sponsored by Senator Alfred, Higher Education Transfer Platform Established, Transfer with Success Act 2.0. Senator Alfred.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair. Again, want to thank the good Delegate Solomon back to back on this bill as well. This is the Transfer with Success bill. Again, the committee knows very well. We have a lot of work ahead as a state in ensuring greater ability for community college students to transfer to Maryland's four-year universities. There's a lot of bureaucracy in that system right now. We passed a bill last year to provide some guidelines for the transfer. We now have a platform called ArtSys that is incredibly kind of simple in its brilliance, and I'm frankly frustrated we have not put more support into it before, but it would allow, say, if I was a nursing student at Anne Arundel Community College, this program would allow me to see before I even selected a class in the Anne Arundel nursing program to see if that class would transfer with credit to a Towson University's BS in nursing program. So I can see before I even take the class, spend money, whether it will transfer or not. That's going to save the student, the families, and the state a tremendous amount of headache, money, and time. if we provide this greater ability, the smoother transfer. So that ARTSIS program, it costs a lot of money to keep it up to date because it is a pretty sophisticated platform. The good news is the governor included $1 million in a supplemental budget this year. The bill, as you have it in the House bill, we took out the money. Completely understand that. I do think it's worthwhile to still have the bill because it provides the necessary kind of guardrails and goals of the program. And again, it was funded in the governor's supplemental budget. So I think it's a worthwhile policy statement for this committee to take to pass the bill, again, with that structure in mind. So with that, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, I request a favorable committee report.
Thank you very much, Senator Alfred. Are there any questions from members of the committee regarding Senate Bill 540? That concludes the bill hearing for Senate Bill 540. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 709, also sponsored by Senator Alfred. It's Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder and Traumatic Brain Injury Alternative Therapies Fund Establishment, David Perez Military Heroes Act, and 22 a day. Senator Alfred.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll try to do a hat trick for all today. But this bill, in all seriousness, we work on a lot of legislation. I feel very strongly that this bill has the potential to save lives. Unfortunately, an average of 22 veterans a day in this country commit suicide. We have a lot more work ahead of us to provide adequate mental health support to those veterans and our heroes returning to this country. One way we can support them is by providing no-cost access to alternative treatment therapies. This bill, the genesis was, I had two groups of constituents. I'm very proud, along with Delegate Henson, to represent the capital city with the Naval Academy. So we have a lot of returning military and veterans come and live in our district. Two different sets came to me suggesting that we provide funding, as the state of Texas recently passed, for psychedelic treatment for traumatic brain injuries and the treatment of PTSD. Another group of constituents came and requested that why don't we try hyperbaric oxygen treatment for the same issues, all with the goal of trying to reverse these traumatic brain injuries that unfortunately so many of our veterans are returning home with. So instead of picking one, we worked with the Secretary of Veterans Affairs and just said, let's start a fund within Maryland Department of Health with an advisory board to figure out how we can provide, again, these no-cost treatments. We are very fortunate in Maryland for many reasons, but one of which is we have world-class medical institutions. These trials are already going on at Johns Hopkins, at University of Maryland, at Shepherd Pratt, all of whom will be on this advisory board. We heard testimony in the Senate from a world-leading scientists doing these trials with the very positive results that they are seeing. Now, this is an unorthodox bill, and I completely understand that, but these treatments will not be funded by the federal VA anytime soon. We are in crisis mode as it relates to, unfortunately, the high rate of suicide amongst our veterans community. This is an unorthodox bill for a critical problem that we need to address. And I would suggest, this bill suggests that this is a path forward for the states to step up in a creative way. And I'd like to thank Delegate Pat Young for being such a wonderful partner in this. And I would respectfully request a favorable committee report. We did put two quick amendments in the Senate bill. One is to add brain futures to the group. It's a mental behavioral health group. Add that to the consulting authority, and then just clarify that the bill would be for both PTSD treatment and traumatic brain injury treatment, because those are two very related issues that are leading to high rates of suicide amongst the veterans community. So with that, Mr. Vice Chair, I would request a favorable committee report.
Thank you very much, Senator Alfred. The committee recognizes Delegate Henson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator, for bringing the bill. When we heard the House version of the bill, I had a question for the bill sponsor, and it's twofold. The first half of the question is making sure that there's sufficient standards in there for quality control. Some of the medication that's listed in there as being eligible for subsidy are some things that, on the other hand, we've tried very hard with our opioid efforts to make sure that people don't develop addictions and habits, and making sure that the prescribed medication is in the hands of the person that it's prescribed to and can best help. So I was asking the House sponsor for any indication he had on how we would make sure that quality control was there. And then the second was about parity. I know that some people have anecdotally said they found relief through the use of cannabis and other things that are not listed in the bill. So I was wondering if the specific medications that are there listed eligible for subsidy, if there was any significance there, or if we had opportunities for people to go beyond that list and other ways that we could also support and subsidize.
Excellent questions. And number one, I'm happy to connect anyone on this committee with the doctor from Johns Hopkins who is leading the trial at Hopkins. From my conversations with them, these are very structured. These are scientific trials. They are controlling for everything in order to see what works and what doesn't work. So any participant would be guided through by a hospital through the trial process. So the quality control, I think, is built in because we're still in trial period. So I'm happy to connect you with the doctor if you would like to speak more with him, but these would all be through, again, scientific trials. And then the second question, we did not list cannabis because frankly, we have medical cannabis has been the law of the land here for quite some time. And we wanted to focus on kind of the alternative therapies, the hyperbaric chambers and the psychedelic treatment here. So that's the only reason we have medical cannabis already. So we didn't focus on that. Yep.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from members of the committee for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, that ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 709. Thank you very much, Senator Alfred, for presenting a series of bills today. Next, we'll move on to Senate Bill 167. It's a departmental bill for Chair of Finance, State Autism Strategy Revisions. And Mr. Patrick Laley will be presenting. Mr. Laley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for your consideration of my remarks today in support of SB 169, the departmental bill through the request of the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives. It would make technical changes to the State Coordinator for Autism Strategy and the Advisory Stakeholder Group on Autism-Related Needs. Again, my name is Patrick Laley, and for the record, I'm the Senior Executive Director of the Governor's Coordinating Offices, a state organization that houses the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, which is in charge of the coordinator and the advisory group. You should also have in your bill file a letter in support of SB 169 from Stephen J. McAdams, the Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, which is the implementing agency for this initiative. SB 169 would make certain technical changes to the underlying statute. Most of these changes would correct references to the agency of jurisdiction. Originally, the Department of Disabilities was envisioned as the lead agency in implementing these statutory programs. Ultimately, the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives became the implementing agency, and therefore incorrect or unnecessary references to the Department of Disabilities should be replaced with GOCI. SB 169 would accomplish this goal. The administration proposes two other changes. The first is to amend the composition of the advisory group to include one representative from the Maryland Senate to be appointed by the President of the Senate, and two representatives from the House of Delegates to be appointed by the Speaker. The administration feels that the addition of representatives from the General Assembly to the advisory group would enhance the panel considerably and greatly assist in furthering its goals. The second is to change the requirement that the coordinator chair the advisory group by having the governor appoint the chair from among those serving on the panel. The administration would like to see the advisory group structure comport with the standard organizational structure of the dozen or so committees already under the purview of the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives. This would allow for good governance and balance in everything from the administration of reimbursements to overall fiscal supervision. Furthermore, it gives panels, commissions, and advisory groups the ability to secure the highest quality leadership on policies and issues that can have a powerful voice independent from, but in cooperation with the director. The separation of duties is also consistent with the Governor's December State Transparency and Accountability Reform Commission recommendations regarding the operations of structures within quasi-governmental agencies. Although this advisory group is not quasi-governmental, some best practices outlined in the STAR report we definitely apply here. And then very lastly, it's important to note that earlier this session, this committee passed a similar bill, SB 662, sponsored by Delegate Guyton, that would also add representation from the General Assembly to the advisory group and make some other changes to the underlying statute. I would specifically like to call your attention to my written testimony that outlines some of the key differences between our departmental bill and that measure. With that overview, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee, I will conclude my testimony and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Laley, for presenting the bill. Are there any questions for Mr. Laley on Senate Bill 169? That ends bill here on Senate Bill 169. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 179, which is Department Bill with the chair of B&T, Energy Performance, Contracts, Duration. We have Mr. David St. Jean presenting. Mr. St. Jean.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. I am David St. Jean, Director of the Office of Energy and Sustainability at the Department of General Services. And since my office manages the state's energy performance contracting program, I am here to testify in support and on behalf of Senate Bill 179. The purpose of Senate Bill 179 is to extend the potential maximum lease term for an energy performance contract from 15 to 30 years. And just a brief background on energy performance contracting, because they are a little unusual, is that these projects are large facility renovation projects focused on reducing the cost and environmental impact of energy use at our facilities, in which the cost of each project is paid for through guaranteed energy savings on that particular project. Currently, we have 26 active EPC projects at state facilities that have annual guaranteed energy savings of nearly $25 million and that abate 103,000 tons of CO2 annually. So extending the potential lease term for up to 30 years allows for larger capital intensive measures such as ground source heat pumps, renewable energy installations, and building shell improvements, such as high efficiency windows and other longer payback conservation measures. I'll add that extending the maximum lease term for EPCs up to 30 years would also provide an avenue for agencies to address a lot of their deferred maintenance items on these particular projects. SB 179 received a letter of support from the Treasurer's Office. Treasurer typically finances these projects through a master lease, and it passed unanimously through the Senate. So I'd like to thank you and urge support of this measure, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. St. Jean, for presenting the bill. Are there any questions from members of the Appropriations Committee for Mr. St. Jean? Seeing none, that ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 179. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 198. It's a departmental bill. The chair of JPR, Correctional Officer Death Benefit Eligibility. This afternoon, we have joining us Secretary Robert Green from the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, and also Nina Williams. Secretary Green.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Chang, members of the House Appropriations Committee. For the record, my name is Robert Green. I'm the Secretary of the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. Senate Bill 198 extends the time frame by which an application for a death benefit may be submitted. It also authorizes the Secretary of the Department to award a death benefit if there is a finding of evidence that the death of a decedent resulted from an act committed against the decedent by another due to the nature and performance of the decedent's duties. Current law states that a death benefit is to be paid for correctional officers who were killed or died during the performance of their duties. Tragically, the department learned of the need to revisit the criteria of the benefit in June of 2021, when an individual was convicted of the killing of correctional officer Gregory Collins while he was driving home to his wife and then 5-month-old daughter after his shift at the Eastern Correctional Institute on June 4th, 2001, 20 years earlier. The individual who killed Officer Collins has a lengthy criminal history. The extensive investigation that was done by the Maryland State Police produced clear evidence that the murder was tied to Officer Collins' profession. This killer was responding to a hit that had been placed on Officer Collins. He sought him out, stalked him, and killed him because he worked as a correctional officer at the Eastern Correctional Institution. Once this evidence came to light during the conviction, it was discovered that the current statute did not allow for the appropriate death benefit to be applied in this case. This bill proposes to extend the 3-year window of eligibility to individuals when new evidence becomes available, indicating that a qualifying individual was killed at the hands of another because of her or his job, not just while they are on duty. With me today is Ms. Williams, the widow of Officer Collins, who will speak more about the bill and how it will benefit the families of correctional officers. I would note that this bill passed unanimously out of the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee and the Senate, and I would respectfully urge a favorable committee vote on Senate Bill 198. After Ms. Collins' testimony, we'd be happy to entertain any questions the committee may have. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Secretary Green. Ms. Williams, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair McIntosh, Vice Chair Chang, and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Lena Williams, the mother of Sydney Collins, the widow of Officer Gregory Collins. I'm here today to provide testimony on Department Bills, Senate Bill 198, Correctional Officer Death Benefit Eligibility. For those who are not familiar with my story, just after midnight on June 4th, 2001, my husband left his job as a correctional officer at Eastern Correctional Institution. He never arrived home. When he had not arrived home, I began making phone calls to friends, family, and ultimately the police to report him missing. My husband was found murdered, and his killer was not arrested for another 18 years. It was not until a suspect was identified, arrested, and convicted that anyone understood he was killed because he had been a correctional officer. A hit was put on Greg. Had this information been available at the time of Greg's death, my family would have been able to apply for the death benefit for individuals who are killed as a result of their job. By the time the information about the case of Greg's death came to light, the application period had expired. No one should have had to experience the loss that my daughter, our family, Greg's coworkers, and our friends went through. The availability of the death benefit serves the purpose of aiding those who have suffered the loss of a loved one. Throughout the years, the men and women of Eastern Correctional Institution has looked out for Greg's family, and we certainly appreciate that they carry on his memory. I now find myself in a position to give back by supporting a bill that is intended to provide assistance to people who find themselves in a tragic situation. Allowing for new evidence to extend the period of time for when loved ones may apply for the death benefit will serve to provide assistance to those who unfortunately have lost their loved ones who died in the hands of another solely because of the career that they chose. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you for your time and ask that you provide a favorable report for Senate Bill 198. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, for being here and sharing your family's story. Very much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions from members of the Appropriations Committee for Secretary Green or Ms. Williams? Secretary Green and Ms. Williams, thank you very much for being here. That concludes the bill hearing for Senate Bill 198. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 437, which is sponsored by Senator McCray and Senator Hester's Agriculture, University of Maryland Extension, Urban Farmer Assistance. Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, Madam Chair. For the record, Corey McCray, 45th Legislative District, East Northeast Baltimore City, just here in reference to Senate Bill 437. First, I'd just like to start off with the awesome cross-file, who's also serves on this respective committee, Delegate Shanika Henson. You all have already passed House Bill 540 unanimously through the House. It's rolled unanimously through the Senate. But what it does is it partners with the University of Maryland Extension to make sure that we can have technical assistance, more technical assistance for our urban farmers across the state of Maryland. In the Senate, and I'm sure that you all had it in the House, you had the University of Maryland appear before the body, and it looks like it's a $300,000 mandated appropriation to make sure that we can get that technical assistance for urban farmers. And in a nutshell, Mr. Vice Chair, that is the bill.
Thank you very much, Senator McCray, for presenting the bill. Are there any questions from members of the Appropriations Committee for Senator McCray? Seeing none, that ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 437. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 560, sponsored by Senator Feldman and Rosapap. It's Maryland Economic Development Corporation, Student Housing Applications and Occupancy Agreements. And we have Mr. Andrew Saundry presenting the bill. Mr. Saundry.
Thank you so much, Chair McIntosh, Vice Chair Chang, distinguished members of the House Appropriations Committee. My name is Andrew Sondry. I'm Senator Feldman's legislative aide, and I'm here on his behalf today. He apologizes that he can't be with you all. He's in a Senate Finance Committee meeting. I'm here to present on his behalf Senate Bill 560, the Maryland Economic Development Corporation Student Housing Applications and Occupancy Agreements. This bill came about in response to a situation that arose in 2020, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, when the University of Maryland shut down in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Students living in on-campus housing were permitted to opt out of their original campus housing leases without cost, except those living in housing owned by Medco. This legislation would require Medco to indicate that they are the owners of a building on the signature page of the lease agreement. It passed unanimously through the Senate, and the cross-file House Bill 385, sponsored by Delegate Lehman, passed unanimously through this committee and the full House of Delegates. Senator Feldman asks for a favorable report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sondry, for presenting the bill. Are there any questions for Senate Bill 560? Seeing none, that ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 560. Committee will now move on to Senate Bill 589, sponsored by Senator Hayes, the University of Maryland Baltimore Campus Employees Authorization to Fundraise. Senator McCray? Senator Hayes.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Appropriation Committee. I'm Senator Antonio Hayes from the 40th Legislative District. This is a bill that should be familiar with you all. Senate Bill 589 is a cross-file of House Bill 907, sponsored by Vice Chairman Chang. This bill will permit an exemption with the state ethics law to allow employees of the University of Maryland Baltimore campus to raise funds and help support the University of Maryland Medical Center. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I urge a favorable report for Senate Bill 589.
Thank you very much, Senator Hayes, for cross-filing this bill. Are there any questions from members of the Appropriations Committee for Senator Hayes on Senate Bill 589? That concludes the bill hearing for Senate Bill 589. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 847, sponsored by Senator Edwards, Libraries, Capital Projects, State Share Adjustments, Oral Testimony provided by sponsor only. Senator Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 847, the cross file for House Bill 1249, which you've already heard and passed. It's sitting in our committee in B&T, which we are going to pass it. You amended the bill to make it 3 years, which is fine. That's what we're going to accept it over here. So I would just ask that you accept or put the amendment on the Senate bill, and we'll make them both the same.
Thank you very much, Senator Edwards. Are there any questions for Senate Bill 847? That concludes the bill hearing for Senate Bill 847. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 916, which is sponsored by Senator Jackson, work group to study the fiscal operational viability of public-private partnerships for Charles County Public Schools. We have Sharon Lanier presenting. Sharon Lanier, please proceed.
Awesome. Thank you, Vice Chair. Well, hello, Chair McIntosh, Vice Chair Chang, and members of the Appropriations Committee. Senate Bill 916 is a simple bill that creates a work group to study the fiscal and operational feasibility of using public-private partnerships as a means of funding the construction and maintenance of schools in Charles County. The work group will be made of representatives of the Maryland General Assembly, the Board of Charles County Commissioners, the Charles County Board of Education, and the Interagency Commission on School Construction and the Maryland Stadium Authority. This is a straightforward piece of legislation that is designed to explore the concept and to see if it could serve as a means to relieve some of the schools' maintenance costs and the construction needs in Charles County. For the reasons listed above, I ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 916.
Thank you very much for presenting the bill. Are there any questions regarding Senate Bill 916 from the committee? That concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 916. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 828, sponsored by Senator Klausmeyer, Family Investment Program Eligibility, Work Experience, Community Service, and Reports Alterations. We have Mr. Sam Deschanel or Ms. Jennifer Staley presenting. Please proceed.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Well, hello.
Ms. Staley.
Oh, yes, I'm here. Sorry. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Jennifer Staley on behalf of Senator Klossmeyer to present Senate Bill 828, Health Insurance Provider Panels Coverage for Non-Participation. Senate Bill 828 as amended is identical to House Bill 1043, which was approved both in this committee and on the House floor. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions regarding Senate Bill 828? That concludes the bill hearing for Senate Bill 828. The committee will now move on to Senate Bill 838, sponsored by Senator Young, Transportation, Elderly and Handicapped Transportation Service County Funding. Senator Young.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This bill requires that the Secretary of Transportation set aside money within the Department of Transportation annual budget for county elderly and handicapped transportation service, and that money keep up with inflation in subsequent years. Elderly and handicapped are those people with permanent or temporary incapacity that doesn't enable them to use public transportation, as well as it also includes a person without incapacity that can use public transportation. Fiscal year 2024, we're asking the Secretary to identify $4,305,908. They have had $4 million in since I believe 2009, and since then the cost has increased by about 45%, which is picked up totally by local government. So what we're asking beginning in 2024 is that it be adjusted each year for inflation. That's pretty simply the bill. The need for this is increasing more rapidly than regular transportation use, and it's been a real hard burden for local governments. It has the support of the Maryland Transit Caucus and the Transportation Association of Maryland, and we ask for a favorable report. It is a cross file of House Bill 1019.
Thank you very much, Senator Young. Are there any questions from members of the committee regarding Senate Bill 838? That concludes the bill hearing for Senate Bill 838. The committee will now move on to the last bill of the day, Senate Bill 911, Senator Quarterman, Maryland State Authority. Senator Quarterman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, and thank you, members of the committee. Thank you for hearing Senate Bill 911, Maryland State Authority alterations. The legislation is basically a procedural change from Senate Bill 926, which was passed last year. It alters the entity in which the state authority will enter into the operating agreement. The bill was requested by the state authority. They've issued a letter of support in the bill file. It passed unanimously in the Senate, and we appreciate your consideration and respectfully ask for a favorable report.
Thank you, Senator Quarterman. Are there any questions from members of the committee for Senator Quarterman on Senate Bill 911? That concludes the bill hearing for Senate Bill 911. That concludes the bill hearing for today. On behalf of Chairwoman Maggie McIntosh and the entire Appropriations Committee, thank you so much for joining us today and have a great day. Thanks.